Hello, and welcome to the Labyrinth of Limitations. This is episode number 2. If you are just checking out this channel for the first time, be sure to look at episode 1. I'm going to say this a lot in these videos. Be sure to check out the series Things I've Learned from Barry Harris. Lots of great information over on that channel. We were talking about the E-flat major 6 chord and the scale of chords. That's what we were talking about before. We're going to talk in this video about substitutions. So when I'm going through Autumn Leaves, I'm using these different. I'm playing the changes. I'm playing a 2 chord in my mind. I'm playing the 2 chord and the 5, and then the 1 chord in B flat major, and then it's going to go to those. This is the 2 and the 5 chord and the 1 in G minor. So that's Autumn Leaves, that's how it starts out. But I'm going to do this while thinking only of major and minor 6 diminished scales only. And that allows my hands to stay in familiar ground and really glue things together and think contrapuntally through things. So this is E flat major 6, there's C minor 6, this is B flat major. I'm going to do B flat major 6, and then C minor 6, and then E flat minor 6. Which I can do as a minor 6, G minor 6 there. Something like that. That's back into B flat major 7, and then right. This is the minor 2-5-1. So I'm moving through these changes while kind of chatting over it, and I'm only thinking of major 6 and minor 6 diminished scales. So the way I'm doing that is with Barry Harris's system of substitutions. And what a substitution is, if you think of, like, say, A minor 7, the sound of A minor 7. So here's... Well, I could make a little recipe for myself if I only wanted to think of 3-note chords. I could think, well, if I put a major C major chord on top of A, the bass note, I end up with a minor 7th chord. So that would be a kind of substitution logic. I mean, it's not hard to think of A minor 7 as a chord, but that would be if I only wanted to think of triads. I could find a way of knowing that, well, the recipe there is I play a major triad, a minor 3rd up from whatever root note I want to be the root of the minor 7th. In this case, C is a minor 3rd up from A, so there's my substitution logic. So that's the way substitutions work. And let's go through these PDFs, and I'm going to just jump ahead just a bit here in them, and we will see that I'm talking about E flat major 6 at the beginning because we've been looking at that, and how that is actually C minor 7. You know, and we're going to go through the Autumn Leaves in these PDFs. So if I do E flat major 6, and then I go to the 5 chord F, well, in the PDFs it'll show us that C minor 6 is what I think of for that. And then B flat major, I can think of either B flat major 6 or F major 6, which makes this kind of sound, that's F major 6 over B flat. And then E flat, I could either think of B flat over E flat, B flat major 6 over E flat, or I could think of E flat major 6. And then when I get to the 2-5-1, that is the last part of the first 8 measures. Well, now I have a, so it goes, when I get to that half diminished 7th chord, which is A half diminished 7th, it's actually C minor 6 is the way I think of it. And then when I get to the D, I do, because we're in the minor key, I do E flat minor 6. And then G minor. So let's get into the PDFs now, and I'll show you what I have for us to practice. Lots of things. Number 1 is pretty self-explanatory. It's just showing you E flat major 6 is C minor 7, and it is valuable to think of each note in each situation. So E flat is the 3rd of C, but it's the root of E flat, and B flat is the 7th of C, but it's the 5th of E flat, and C is the root of C, but it's the 6th of E flat, and G is the 5th of C and the 3rd of E flat. I want to think of it as E flat major 6 because that allows me to connect through this nice contrapuntal fabric that is available through learning my voicings that are on the PDFs for E flat major 6. But I want to think of it as C minor 7 because then that allows me to see it on the chart, right? And I want to be able to connect to that chart. I want to be able to think of that. So all of that is important. Now, what I'm saying in number 2 is just if you feel daunted by learning all of these 35 voicings, one thing that helps is to see the connectivity. So example 2 just shows that any drop 2, I can take my tenor voice, which here is on the 4th string of my guitar, and I put it up an octave, and that's a drop 3. Well, by the same logic, I can take a drop 2 and take that tenor voice and put it down an octave. Now I'm doing a different voicing, and my 3rd string note I'm going to put down an octave, and there we go. Okay? So this is going to be a 2-part video, just so you know. I want to remind you to just go ahead and pause, take breaks and things, but I'm definitely going to make this into a 2-part video because there's a lot of information here. So moving on to number 3. We have E flat major 6, and this is our first substitution because now we're putting E flat major 6 on top of A flat. What's the relationship there? Well, A flat is here, right? And E flat is here, so it's a 5th above A flat. So then that relationship holds true for anything. You know, I can do this trick. So E flat major 6, A flat in the bass, together. What it does is it makes A flat major 9. Here's the major 7th. The 3rd of E flat is major 7th. Here's the 3rd of A flat, the C natural is the 3rd. E flat is the 5th of A flat, and the 9th right there is B flat. Did a different voicing there of E flat major 6. That is E flat major 6 right there, and I'm just reworking. And I did double this note. All that stuff works great. Here's another E flat. I'll reach. That's kind of tricky. And then here's another E flat. All of these, I could go up all the way to here, you know, so I go. And it creates just major 7ths and 9ths in there. So that's a beautiful substitution. That is an actual substitution, as opposed to thinking of E flat major 6 as C minor 7 is not really. That's just enharmonic respelling is what you call that, which means you're just thinking of it differently, but it's the exact same chord. Okay, so moving on to example 4. Now we're talking about the minor 6 chords. And this is where things get pretty deep in Barry Harris's method, because minor 6 chords have lots of uses. So one is every minor 6 is a half diminished 7th chord. It's a minor 3rd below. The relationship is the same as with major 6 in the minor 7th. So E flat major 6 is C minor 7. Well, that is a minor 3rd relationship, E flat to C. So this is C minor 7, right? And that's C minor 7, even though it's E flat major 6 also. Minor third relationship. Well, here we have C minor 7 is the same thing. Sorry, C minor 6. And sorry if I said it's E flat minor 6, but major 6. But anyway, C minor 6 is the same thing as A half diminished 7. So if I play this, that is A half diminished 7. That's all that's there. So it was the same chord. But now if I play C minor 6 above F, which is a fifth relationship, and Barry Harris calls this the important minor on F, meaning that when you're playing an F7, you're thinking of F7. That's an F7 scale, F mixolydian. I'm thinking of F7. Well, I can play C minor 6, and that's its important minor. So I can play that up and down the note, and that makes, there's an F in the bass, and I played F on top of B flat for that major 6 on the 5 on the a fifth above B flat. So that's F major 6. So I did F major 6, which is nice, but I could have done, there's B flat major 6. So C minor 6 is the substitution for F. But then there's another substitution for F, which is F sharp minor 6 over F. That's a half step up. And this is called the tritones minor sometimes. That's what Barry, I've heard him call it, that. That's the sound there. So here's C minor 6. Sorry for the buzz. Resolving it there. So it's called the tritones minor because F sharp is a half step above F, but F sharp is a fifth above F's F's tritone. So so F sharp is a fifth above B. So it's the same relationship as C is to F. F sharp is to B, which is F's tritone substitution. And the idea of the tritone substitution is really that every note of F7 of the scale, you could think, you can fill in the space between those notes, or between those notes and the B flat major scale, which is the same pitch collection. F7 and B flat major use the same pitch collection. You just think of different centers to it. So F7, B flat, that's B flat, same notes though, right? So if I do C minor 6 and then F sharp minor 6, I get something that would have gone G going to F, but instead I go G down to G flat or F sharp and then F, and that's the sound of the tritone sub, filling in that space. So you go, I go like, and those kind of, that off, more dissonant, altered dominant sound. What I did there was, and then I took notes. I'm actually playing F sharp minor 6, and I'm playing notes that are derived from B7. And that all works, and we'll talk about this more in other videos, because F7, which is what our harmony is, and B7 share the same tritone, the third and the seventh of the chord. So F7, the third and the seventh, is the tritone interval, E flat and A in this case, because it's F. So right between there, that is shared. They just flip-flop when you go to the tritone sub. So B7, the third of F is the seventh of B7, and vice versa. And then every other note of the B7 scale is not in the F7 scale. So it's 5 notes that weren't available in the original 7 notes, and making the total 12 notes, which is super cool. It allows us access to everything in all of the 12 tones, in normal 12-tone music. So I'm going to turn the page now. Now we're on page 3, and I'm looking at the first kind of, full example of something kind of musical to do. Returning to the contrary motion exercise of the previous video, and just taking a part of it, dissecting it, and using it with this substitution type of thinking in mind. So I'm really starting to think here of the first chord of Autumn Leaves. And I'm going to go, minor 6. I'm thinking of the 5 chord of Autumn Leaves. I'm thinking of C minor 6. So here I go. I'm taking a C minor 6 chord, a drop 2, but I'm just going to take the bottom 3 notes. I'm not going to play the second string. So that's what you see on the PDF first. And then now I'm just going to look at the top 2 notes of that, because I'm going to view this as just a bass pedal tone. So here, this is what we call a third in this scale, because in the minor 6 scale, that is a third. It's a diminished third is what you would call it. And then I go. So this is the scale in thirds. There's between the 5th and the 6th of the C minor 6 chord, it's a major second technically, but we call it a diminished third, is what it is. So I'm going to view that in terms of the sequence of contrary motion, which, remember, once we get to a third, which is the second thing in the sequence, the next thing we have is a triad. There's the diminished chord. I go to the triad. So my top voice went up, and then I'm going to incomplete chord. That's a C minor 6, and I'm going to an octave chord, and then I'm going to an upper neighbor real quick. But really, I could have just and I get to my drop 2, which is what's after the octave chord, if you remember. Go ahead and look back at the previous PDF for that. So that is like this. And then what I do in the next measure is just thin that out a bit. So it's like, which is nice. So I have some new bass strings and some very old scratchy trebles. Sorry about that. But then I do the same thing, and this is what's so cool about the Barry Harris idea is I can move this idea up in this really clear way. I was on the 6th chord, now I'm going to go to a diminished chord. Again, viewing this part as a third, and I'm going to go, if I were to do the full idea from the third, I go to a triad. So what would I have to do there? That would be my triad of C minor 6, but I'm going to make it easy on myself and just grab the top and bottom notes of that, and then that same idea. So, and now I'm going to go from C minor 6 next inversion, which is really nice. And then this is on the diminished, minor 6, diminished, minor 6 note. Whoops. So these are really beautiful. And if I'm going step by step, I'm always alternating between diminished and the chord. Right? What's the next one? So this is minor 6, diminished, minor 6. Just like that. Just alternating. I could feel like that if I wanted to. And then, what is this? Really pretty stuff. And then I could go down here. So, and you can move out of it in different ways. Diminished. Love these lines. Those are really, really fun. So that is page 3. Moving on to page 4. Now we have... I'm looking at a little bit more detailed look at Autumn Leaves. If you just get that chart out, I'm doing it in G minor. So starting out with C minor 7, F, B flat, and then E flat, and then A half diminished 7, D, and that's the first 8 of the song. So here we go. We're looking at, maybe I'll do it up here. And then I'm doing C minor 6. So what I'm doing here is C minor 6 diminished which I'm viewing, you can see underneath, I'm viewing it as F7. So there's two lines there, C minor 6 diminished and then F7 written underneath. That's my thinking. C minor 6, and then I'm going to go to F sharp minor 6, which it shows I'm thinking of the tritone sub, B7, and then I'm going to B flat major 6. And I wrote the chords on top, but those chords are all derived from just the minor 6 and then at the end the major 6 diminished drop 2 voicings. You just have to transpose the C minor 6 voicings to make them F sharp minor 6. So here's C minor 6. I can subtract 6 frets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's F sharp minor 6, right? Here's C minor 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops. C minor 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There it is. And that's a F sharp minor 6 into a B7 scale into B flat major. Okay, we'll talk about this more. We're going to do more. So feel free to take a break. I hope I'm not talking too fast. And again, in the comments, let me know if anything is overly complicated seeming. Like I said, we're going to end this just at the I'm going to end it at about 30 minutes in, and then we're going to go to part 2. Actually, I'll just keep talking through the video, but I'll divide it up. Probably just make one video here. I'm not sure. I'll decide in a minute. Let's keep going. So we have E flat major 6 diminished in example 10, right? So now this is what would be the 2 chord, C minor 7, and now I'm going to C minor 6, and I went down to this, C minor 6, and then F sharp minor 6. And that's that tritone sub filling in the gap. It would just be, but instead, which is really nice. And in the bottom, which is nice. I'm not even thinking about making that happen. It just happens because the voicings work so well. Which brings me to a point that I don't really have on a PDF. I'm going to talk about this more in videos, is if I practice being in position and just changing between the various shapes of, say, the same structure, drop 2, various inversions, that's a great exercise to do because that's what I actually have to do to go from C minor 6 to F sharp minor 6. Sorry, E flat minor 6. Here's F sharp minor 6. That's what I wanted, actually. But I can practice the whole range of it voicing. So here is C minor 6, C minor 6. But what if I do that just in place? So I can go, and then, so I'm just doing those in place, and that is actually accessing musically important stuff that we're going to use in substitutions. Like, for example, this is a first inversion, minor 6 voicing, and this is a third inversion, minor 6 voicing with a 6 in the bass. So, okay, so anyway, let's move on, huh? So now I returned in example 11 to this contrary motion thing. So now we're going to do it over C minor 6 and then move into F sharp minor 6. So that is both F7, but one is the normal important minor, C minor 6, and then one is the tritones minor, which is F sharp minor 6. So here I go. Instead of going, or just, I'm actually, this is a 6th, so I'm going to go by parallel motion up with a 6th. I did it like this, it doesn't, could have done like that. And now, whoops, I did the, should have done that one. This one is wonderful, but not the right one. So there's F sharp minor 6, right? And then F over B flat. So sorry, wrong note. And then so that is moving that motion through those things, and I hope it starts to, you know, show that reason why we're thinking these little mental gymnastics of the substitutions is then I can do these motions with my hand and with my mind. I'm thinking them too, relatively easily, and they're pretty, you know, they're pretty. They would be hard to think of otherwise. So C minor 6 and example 12. Now we're looking at the minor 2-5-1. So in the minor key, things are a little different. If you think about it in G minor, well, you know, I'm going to have either, that's natural minor, that's melodic minor, this one is the one, that is the harmonic minor. Now, so what we're going to do is create that sound. That's a different sound, right? And so it takes slightly different substitution logic. For one, C minor 6 is the same thing as A half diminished 7th. So the 2 chord is now half diminished rather than a minor 7, right? It's the difference between this and this. It's a very important distinction. So we need to think of that. So here's C minor 6, and then I'm going to go to diminished, and then C minor 6. And then on the 5 chord, I'm not going to do the normal 5. I'm going to do the tritones minor, not the normal minor. So I'm not going to do A minor 6 over D, because it sounds weird because I get notes that are more major key. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go, this is C minor 6, and then here is E flat minor 6, which is a half step up from D, but a fifth up from D's tritone, which is A. Right? A flat, sorry. So I go, and that sounds minory, right? And then I'm going to go doing something. I'm just moving through different voicings, you know, and then here's C minor. Was just moving through those. So that's the sound. That's the minory sound of this. So, example 13, and I'm ending on G minor 6 diminished. It's in example 12 is the idea. So example 13 now, we have the contrary motion exercise. And I just want to see where we're at with things. Okay, so I'll do this, and then we're going to, you know, I'm going to divide up this video a bit here. So contrary motion exercise in example 13 is really cool because now we're going C minor 6, and we're going to go E flat minor 6, and then G minor 6. So I'm going to go drop 2, but not play the top note, and then that's my 6th, and here's in the logic of things in another video. So pretty neat, right? You know, I didn't have to do all of that. Didn't have to do the triplet, but it's nice. And then here's another one, starting from first inversion, C minor 6. Something like that, right? So I'll do that again. Oops. Oops. Something like that. Really pretty sounds. So here is where I'm going to stop the video. I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to start another one. And it will be for the rest of this, for the rest of the bottom of this page. Okay, I'm going to look at that really quick because that's the same example. And then I'll re-hit this at the beginning of the next one. So what am I doing here? Maybe. And then And that's where we'll stop for this video, okay? And I'm going to start another one up right away here and post both of these at the same time. Just kind of, it's a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to give this a like and a subscribe. And check out Barry Harris stuff online. Check out things I learned from Barry Harris, the channel. And thank you. I got a lot of positive response from people from the first one, so thank you. It really means a lot to me. This is a lot of fun.